What's going on, full-time family? One last thing I wanted to talk about today. Johnny Walker open to fighting Francis Ngannou. Says John Jones is afraid to lose to an unknown guy. Yo, I like this Johnny Walker kid, man. He's had a lot of hype. I've been pumping the brakes on him. The hype comes from he's dangerous. He's definitely a dangerous fighter, but as far as the John Jones, the next guy to beat John Jones, the future of the lightweight division, I definitely think we got to pump the brakes a little bit on Johnny Walker. And if he's talking about fighting Francis Ngannou and John Jones being afraid to lose, I think he might himself be getting a little ahead of himself here. Johnny Walker, a talented prospect. He gyrates, he does the worm, he looks like a male stripper turned UFC fighter, and he's been knocking guys out. So he's definitely got a lot of potential. He's marketable, 100%. I completely get that. But just because you're marketable has never meant you're one of the best fighters in the world. I mean, it doesn't matter how much the UFC likes you. They can't save you from all the top fighters in the world. They can try and give you favorable matchmaking. I mean, they can do their best. But when it comes to guys like John Jones and Daniel Cormier and the greatest fighters of all time and just killers like Thiago Santos and even guys that are well-rounded like Corey Anderson, you ain't going to be able to beat all of those guys. Not if you're not at the highest level in the world. And Johnny Walker, he's only beat one guy in his UFC career that's even sniffed the top 5, and that was Misha Cirkunov. Other than that, he hasn't beat anybody yet. Even Anthony Smith, he at least fought Rashad Evans and who was it? Vitor Belfort. Shogun. I mean, not Vitor. At least he got to fight Rashad and Shogun. At least even though they might have been past their prime, you could argue at least they were recognizable names, legends of the sport. And then he went on to be the top 5 contender. So Anthony Smith, in that sense, at least fought 3 reputable fighters. Johnny Walker has only beat Misha Cirkunov, and Misha Cirkunov wasn't even ever a champion. He just fought DC once and, got beat up by DC one time. So I don't think Johnny Walker has done enough for that. But, hey, man, I do like the confidence. I mean, fighting Francis Ngannou, I don't know if him or if any of you guys are, have realized Francis Ngannou is back on a tear. He's back on a fucking tear, man. He knocked out 2 of the best wrestlers in the heavyweight division, Curtis Blades and Cain Velasquez. And then he just came out and knocked out Junior Dos Santos. He's on a tear. So to think Johnny Walker has anything for Francis Ngannou, I think that's pretty crazy. You ain't going to be able to do the worm, you know what I'm saying, when you're asleep. And I think that's what happened. So Johnny Walker, I think he's getting a little bit ahead of himself. But I am interested to see what some of you guys have to say about this. What do you think about Johnny Walker versus Francis Ngannou? And as far as John Jones is concerned, I mean, John Jones has been looking worse than ever. And honestly, his best win since coming back from this USADA violation was over Alexander Gustafsson, who we now know had one foot out the door. He lost to John Jones, lost one more time to a fighter he should have beaten. He retired. Alexander Gustafsson beats Anthony Smith. If we're talking about prime Alexander Gustafsson, he beats Anthony Smith, man, 8 times out of 10. He's too technical of a fighter. I mean, prime Alexander Gustafsson took John Jones to the toughest fight we've ever seen John Jones in. And this Alexander Gustafsson that had one foot out the door got finished by John Jones and then lost in his hometown to Anthony Smith. So the most impressive win on John Jones' resume since his comeback was a guy who had one foot out the door. Other than that, the greatest fighter of all time, to some people, not to me. But John Jones fought to a decision with Anthony Smith, and then he fought to a split decision with the one-legged Thiago Santos. So John Jones hasn't been looking great ever since he's failed that drug test when he fought Daniel Cormier. So in that sense, maybe Johnny Walker has a shot. He's a legit light heavyweight. He's not a guy coming up from middleweight. And John Jones hasn't been looking great. That's the only reason. It's not because we've seen him, go out here and beat the best fighters in the world or just seen some crazy skills we've never seen before. It's just because John Jones isn't looking good. That's the only reason I would entertain that. But Francis Ngannou, I think 100% puts this dude to sleep, and he might do it quick. With that being said, man, it is what it is. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. I'm out.